can we do something to reduce this
Yes,
impact?
as you
What are
told
some
me this thing
steps?
in last class, we can reduce.
All right, welcome back. Why is it showing as this email address and not your name? Clap Zoom 29.
I don't know. It always
Yeah.
shows the email ID to me.
No, it usually shows with your with your name, I thought. Okay. All right. So this session we are going to do global issues. That's the topic. Does that sound more appealing, more tangible, relatable?
Practical.
Mhm. Okay. So let's begin with the first question. What causes the most global issues? What, according to you, causes global issues?
I want to know the meaning of basically global issues. What areas it covers actually?
So when you're talking about global issues, you're talking about issues that are of a global nature. A problem,
Like
like for
what I know
example,
is like health issues and climate change. I have come up with these two
okay,
only.
yeah. So there could be health issues that the world over faces. There could be climate related. There could be
These two I have
education
written. I have written these
education,
two.
poverty, women's women's rights, uh, so many things that could take on wider perspective when you look at it from a wider point of view. So any problem which turns out to be impacting a larger number of people or more number of countries, like nuclear wars, or let's say the
Infant
wanting,
mortality
you know
rate,
infant
increase
mortality.
in
So
rate.
not infant mortality rate, but you can say infanticide. We call it infanticide.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you think? What causes global issues? What are the triggers that are causing problems
So
to reach a
right
global
now, which we are
level?
facing is climate change. That is global warming. Because of climate change, we are facing global warming.
Okay, yes, and that is something
As
that
we
is
can
impacting
see,
the world.
yeah. Sorry.
That is something that is impacting the world, right? It's
Yes.
impacting not only India, but it might be impacting so many countries and so many nations. Everyone is
Yes.
impacted by global warming. Okay, so talk a little bit about global warming, since that's one of the areas that you had in mind.
So
What about
basically,
global warming?
it's because of increase in temperature,
Okay,
right? And we can talk about all the lands, not lands, kheti. What is it?
agricultural lands,
Agriculture. Sorry.
agriculture,
Yes. Basically, all the what is the word for fasal?
crops,
Yeah,
the
not able to.
produce.
Crops is damaged actually
Hmm.
because of the heat waves, and heat waves are the result of global warming. I would say.
Okay,
Hmm. Change.
so
Glaciers are
so where is this heat coming from? Who's producing this heat? Is it coming naturally or artificially? Are we causing it?
it's by human activities. It's because of human activities. Humans are involved in such activities that results in basically that emits such gases which are harmful for the planet, and that traps the heat actually. Those gases do not allow the heat to go. They trap the heat, and which results in increasing the temperature of the earth.
Okay. So, what are some of the human activities that are causing it or the trigger points for it?
As we discussed in one of our previous sessions, uh, like the gas released by the AC,
Mm-hmm.
fridge, and most of
Okay.
the gases that are released in factories during their production of the goods.
Okay. So, can we do something to reduce this
Yes,
impact?
as you
What are
told
some
me this
steps?
thing in last class, we can reduce the use of AC
Yes.
week by sleeping in one room, and we can go for alternative option if there is an alternative option available. Like instead of AC, we can go for cooler.
Or people learn to adjust and stay in one room rather than having the ACs of all the rooms on at the
Yeah,
same time.
that is what you
That
told
also
me
is a
last.
pos.
You can go for alternative option as well. Now
Right, right.
there it is.
What was,
It's there.
yeah, what was your other point other than global climate change? Yeah. So,
Health
you
issues, health
spoke
issues,
about
health issues,
health
health issues.
issues. Yeah. So,
Like pandemic hit us in 2020.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
It actually affected many lives, many people.
mm-hmm.
Many people were dead because of the corona. So, uh, you please ask me more question.
So, other than the pandemic, what about prior to the pandemic and after the pandemic? What are some of the health issues that we face? Corona was definitely one of its kind. It was a pandemic, first of its kind that we faced. But what about before and after?
Before as well, we were facing some serious issues related to health care facilities. Last year I had surgery, eye surgery, and I was going to Ames Hospital for my surgery. There, what I saw basically, people were standing in queue for so many hours, and they were still not able to make it. So it's the scenario in our country. I don't know about the other. So it somewhere leads to increase in the rate of health issue.
Okay. So, what about things like uh, HIV? What about things like leprosy? Things like,
For HIV, I believe government has taken many steps.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
As
That's what
I
I'm
remember when I used to
getting
watch
at,
TV,
that those were
I,
health issues which have now been eradicated. So, talk a little bit about those areas, things
okay,
like that, which were very predominant. Yeah.
the government has taken many steps to reduce the impact of HIV on many people. Like as far as I remember, there were many ads related to awareness of HIV. How does it spread, or does it even spread? No, it doesn't spread by shaking your hands or by touching that person. So they are making the people aware of the concept of HIV, and we should not be ashamed of it, and we should deal with those people in a friendly way rather than ignoring them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that was eradicated, or that has been eradicated from our nation over the years. Now we don't hear about it so much, but there was a time when it was very common, and the rate was very high, the frequency was very high, and it was a taboo, or it was a scare. Like the moment you would hear,
I
you would
think
feel
it's a
frightened that,
taboo.
oh,
It's still a taboo. I thought
yes,
it's
yes,
taboo.
it is
Taboo.
taboo. Yeah. So
It's a taboo.
it's still, It still is, but I think people are now a little more sensitized and open to it. Otherwise, the fear that was there initially, it
Yeah,
was uh, really bad.
dreadful.
What about leprosy? What about leprosy? What are your views
What is
about
it?
leprosy
I
as a
don't
global
know
issue?
about it. What
You
is
don't
it?
know what leprosy is? Have you ever seen? You've seen people on the road where the full finger is not there. Like half the fingers are there. The fingers are like all burnt, or their fingers are eaten up, or they don't have fingers,
Yeah,
complete fingers, and it's like all bandaged, or their toes. People with leprosy, basically, they don't have the sense of touch. So they burnt, and they get burnt because they don't know if things are too hot or too cold. So leprosy is it's a disease where your sensations are impacted, and as a result, uh, you might have deformed, um, your
body.
nerve endings don't work the way it is supposed to work, and as a result, your fingers and your toes and your body has bacterial infection. And so you can look at pictures of it. It will give you a better idea about what leprosy is all about. What else? What other health related issues? Polio. What about polio?
It was there in early 90s, I believe, because
Okay.
government has taken so many steps. Polio, Amitabh Bachchan was there in the advertisement. He was
Hmm.
advertising. There was a slogan made on this. Ek boond zindagi ki something like that. And every year they used to provide this medicines to many people, and they would approach the people to come and take this medicine. It's free. You don't need to pay, but it will save your life. That I
Right.
remember. Yeah, because I was a kid now, so I used to watch television a lot.
So would you say that it helped? The strategy that they
Yeah,
use, it
obviously it
helped?
helped. We became more aware of the fact, yeah, this is the disease and how it can be corrected by taking this
Right.
particular medicine on particular day. Especially when Amitabh Bachchan is saying this.
Right. So when we look at, you know, what should I say, the initiatives, the government initiatives, I think all children under the age of 5 have to go every time for the polio drops.
Drops.
That is something that was made compulsory in India, and we can see
They
the
were
vast
approaching
change.
each and every house. Actually, they were going
House.
door to
Yes.
door. Yeah,
So that kind of a drive really helped to eradicate
disease.
the issue and take care of the concern. And now polio has been eradicated from our country. We're a polio free nation. And we still see that children under the age of 5, they go, monthly or whenever it comes. There are booths at
Even
every street or in every area to take care of it. So that was something that of a global nature. So what are okay, now those were something to do with climate change, and we looked at a few of these health concerns. What do you feel about the global nature of the wars that were happening?
wars.
Palestine and Israel, the wars. Yeah, the wars between Israel and Palestine, and you've heard about it, the wars that were happening,
I
Israel,
told you
Palestinian.
when it comes to GK, I'm an ignoramus.
Okay, but you heard nothing about it over the past year or so?
When did it happen?
Nothing. Last year, the war has been going on since.
Still,
It's a military and a political conflict between countries. Okay, so that's something that you're not aware of. You can just be read it if it interests you. Otherwise, let's look at another global issue. What would you say to poverty? Is it a global issue?
yes, it is, especially in country like India. Rich
Okay.
are becoming rich day by day, and poor are becoming poorer day by day.
Okay.
because of, I would say, there is a word for it in economics. I'm not able to recall because I'm literally drowsy now. I just woke up for your class. Not able to recall the words. There's a word for it. I'm not able to recall it. They do not distribute the economic wealth in a proper way. They do not provide the facilities to the poor people.
Okay. So, as a nation, where do we stand when it comes to poverty? Do you think the poverty line has improved over the years? Are there lesser people below the
So
poverty line, or is it
I,
still very high numbers?
when I was in college, I was in touch with economics and I was reading economics times and I was literally into it. But for the
Mm-hmm.
past few years, I have not been reading newspaper or not watching television. I'm not into it basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have any idea about poverty anymore. But it's still, if you ask me what I see around but I see around myself, poor people are still there.
Mm-hmm.
And if we talk about
So,
poverty, it, I think it would have improved. I'm not sure.
okay. What about let's look at COVID-19 again, a global issue that happened, and it was the first of a kind for our generations to see. So, how do you feel the world dealt with it, and how did India deal with it? If we compare the way the world dealt with it and the way India dealt with it, can you do a little bit,
I
talk
gave
a
you an
little bit about
example
that?
related to China. Like we didn't deal it with it in an effective way, I would say. There were chaos and confusion regarding rules and regulation, and those rules and regulations were not being followed by the people. They were not scared of the government rules and regulation. They were still going to the market and still doing not wearing masks. Though they were risking their lives, but still there should be a fear of the government, right? And we are supposed to follow that. And if I talk about government part, as I told you, in China they were providing food in every street, which wasn't the case in our
Hmm.
country. We were barely getting enough
Okay.
food or facilities.
Okay. So, would you say that when the pandemic struck us, people were taking advantage of the situation and bullying each other
Like
rather than helping each other in our country?
both sides were there, I would say. There were some people who
Okay.
were helping. If I talk about my brother and my family, we were helping each other and other people. And there were few people around us who were like bullying, and they were
Yes,
not
taking
into it.
advantage.
They were trying to exploit the other, I would say.
Absolutely. That's the good word, exploit. Yes, exploit
Yes.
one another. We were reading constantly about the black, the selling of what are those oxygen cylinders in black, where
Yes.
they were charging so much of money,
Much
and
time.
then even for that medicine, Remzived or something like that, Remzived, some medicine that was needed during COVID, that also they were charging uh, such a high amount of money just for that one medicine, 1200, 1500, 4000, 5000. They were just charging any amount of money
Many
for a
people,
one tablet.
many people lost their lives just because of this corona, and they were so fit.
Absolutely. But we didn't come together as a nation. We were bullying each other. People thought that it was an opportunity to
Take
earn
advantage.
money and loot each other.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, there were a lot of good points, but there were also some very bad, what should I say, bad, there was a lot of bad insights into how people were causing more harm to one another than doing good. where they had an
Agree.
opportunity to come together. Okay, what do you feel about healthcare as a global concern, as a global issue? Healthcare?
Like facilities, like what we were talking about.
Healthcare. So, for example, in countries abroad, senior citizens or children, they get free medical facilities. They don't have to pay for it. There are
It's
much
there in
more
India as well.
amenities.
I think PM Narendra Modi has started this thing for the past.
It is
It's there.
gradually coming about,
Yeah.
but it wasn't there. It's gradually coming about, but it's obviously something that has it's an area that we have much to work upon because it was not there. So when you look at
I
medical
didn't know about
facilities,
this, but one of my students told me, "Didi, medicine free की मिलती है या we get the medicines at discounted price, something like that." Government has started this thing. I didn't know
Mhm.
about this until he
Okay.
told me.
So would you say that the medical infrastructure or the facilities in India are at par with the rest of the world, or are we still lagging behind?
We are still lagging behind.
Okay.
I
So,
won't say we are at par or going ahead. No. There are various
okay.
aspects or fields we need to cover. We still need to work on them. The government is taking its initiative and they are trying their best, but there are some people in between who actually are involved in some speculative trading, I would say speculative activities. So the
Hmm.
outcome is not that fruitful just because of those people.
Right,
Government
right,
is
right.
somewhere involved and the government is actually taking steps and trying hard to improve it. I wouldn't say there is government fault. It's not their fault.
So,
They are
how do the
taking it.
world leaders usually handle such situations? Global
See,
issues, how are they handled
we
by
can't
world
deal with
leaders?
each and every step. See, this procedure is not a. It's not like it's going from A to B. It's going from A to B, then B to C, and C to D, and eventually end up to the Z. So the
There are
people
so many
which
middlemen involved.
so many, and we cannot look after them. Like we cannot go to each and every middleman. So this sense of humanity and courtesy, I would say that it should be there. Like we should not exploit this, and the government we should appreciate it. We should involve ourselves in a positive way rather than
Okay.
going and exploiting or doing some speculative things.
Hmm. Would you say that social media or the world media amplifies smaller issues? Do they blow it out of proportion?
Sometimes, not all the times.
Okay. Okay.
Any topic which they find interesting and would get them more TRP, they would go for after. They would go after that thing.
Okay. So, do you think that issues that are happening in one part of the world affect the rest of the world, or is it only localized? It is
It
only
depends.
that area that is
It depends on the issue. It depends on that particular
okay.
issue. In some cases, yes, it does affect other countries as well, and in some cases, in other cases, it doesn't. So it basically
Okay.
depends on the issue.
All right. Okay, let's wind up with the vocabulary words.
Refugee, it's very difficult. Refugee,
Mm-hmm.
peacekeeping,
Mm-hmm.
butterfly effect, nation state, digital divide, migration, illiteracy, migrant worker, ecosystem, global warming, genocide, recession, developing countries, biodiversity, convention, grassroots, lobby, red tape, multinational, diplomat.
All right. So say illiteracy, illiteracy, illiteracy,
Illiteracy.
and developing, develop,
I tried to pronounce it the way you want, but I failed to do it. Develop.
develop,
Develop.
deve-
Ah, I won't
develop,
be able.
develop.
Develop. Develop. Develop. Develop.
Mm. So say develop, like this, develop, develop,
Develop. Develop.
develop,
Develop.
develop, develop,
Develop. Develop.
not D, de.
Develop. 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 I'll try.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. So, when you're talking about the pandemic, use the article the pandemic, because it's something specific that you're referring to. So, when the pandemic hit us, okay? And when you're talking about corona, you don't have to say the, just say when corona hit. Okay, not when the corona hit. No, when the pandemic hit and when corona or COVID-19 hit. Then government, again, government,
Our
put an
government.
article, the. Yes.
I was using it, I think, but somewhere I might have skipped.
And then it's concept, concept,
What?
concept. I'm not reading newspapers. I'm not
Sorry,
reading the. I'm not reading newspapers. Put an article. I'm not
I
reading the newspapers. S.
I know all these things.
Then what I see around myself. That sounds a little odd. What I see
Or na?
around me.
Um,
Around
around
me.
me could be better now.
See around
I
me.
I felt something odd while
One of my
saying it.
student. One of my
No,
student.
one of
Say
my
one of
students.
students. Yes, it has to be plural. Now, government has or government have
What was the sentence? Complete sentence. Government has. Government is
started.
singular now.
So has. Okay. It sounded like have. Government have started. No,
I
the
might have
government
said
has.
I don't remember. It
Okay,
happens in
has
few.
started. Has started. Yeah, so that's it. But okay, I think you had more pointers for this topic.
Because that was something which is actually imaginative thing, and
Right,
I'm very bad at it. As I told you this thing,
right.
I'm not an articulate person.
No, so
I'm a
good. At
practical
least you were
person.
able to express yourself. Fine. So I'll see you later in the day for our third and final session. All right. Bye then. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye. See you later.